Female cop lost and alone on Christmas. What a black single dad did changed everything. Extended script. The snow had started falling just after sunset. At first it was gentle, delicate flakes drifting slowly through the freezing air like tiny feathers. The kind of snowfall people love to watch from inside warm houses while holding mugs of cocoa. But tonight the snow wasn't gentle. Within an hour the sky had turned thick and gray, the wind began to howl, and the peaceful flakes turned into a relentless winter storm that swallowed the roads and buried the quiet town beneath layers of white. It was Christmas Eve. Across the city, homes glowed with warm yellow lights. Christmas trees sparkled in living rooms. Families laughed, shared stories, and children whispered excitedly about Santa Claus. But far from those cozy homes, on a lonely road near the edge of town, Officer Emily Carter sat alone in her patrol car. The heater had died. The engine had stalled. And the silence of the snowy road pressed heavily against the windows. Emily rubbed her hands together, trying to warm them, but the cold had already seeped into her bones. Her breath fogged the windshield as she exhaled slowly. "Great timing," she muttered quietly. The radio had gone silent 10 minutes earlier. Dispatch had tried to help, but the storm had caused chaos across the city. Cars had slid off icy roads. Power lines had fallen in some areas. Emergency services were stretched thin. The tow truck would come. Eventually. But it might take hours. Emily leaned back in the seat and stared at the falling snow. Christmas Eve. Alone. And for the first time in many years, she felt truly lost. Her eyes drifted toward the small photo clipped to her dashboard. It showed her standing beside an older man wearing a retired police uniform. Her father. Officer Daniel Carter. He had passed away 3 months earlier. For 35 years he had served the same department Emily now worked for. Growing up, Emily had watched him leave the house late at night, return exhausted in the morning, and still find time to sit beside her during breakfast. Every Christmas morning he would say the same thing. "Being a cop isn't about power," he'd tell her while sipping coffee. "It's about showing up when people need you most." Emily swallowed hard. Tonight she felt like she had failed that promise. Her phone buzzed weakly. Battery, 4%. No signal. Perfect. She sighed and closed her eyes. That's when she heard it. Knock. Knock. Emily's eyes snapped open. Her hand instinctively moved toward her holster as she turned toward the driver's window. A tall man stood outside the car, snow collecting on his shoulders. He wore a worn brown coat and a knit cap pulled low over his ears. Beside him stood a small girl wrapped in a bright pink scarf that nearly covered her entire face. The man raised his hands politely. "Evenin', officer." Emily cracked the window open slightly. "Can I help you?" The man smiled warmly. "Looks like you might be the one needing help tonight." Emily studied him carefully. Not threatening. Just concerned. The little girl waved excitedly. "We saw your car." The man chuckled. "My daughter has the eyes of a hawk." Emily raised an eyebrow. "And you are?" "Marcus Hayes," he said. "And this here is Zoe." Zoe gave a dramatic bow. Emily almost laughed despite the cold. "You two shouldn't be out here in this storm," Emily said. Marcus shrugged. "Life doesn't always check the weather forecast." Zoe pointed at the patrol car. "Your car looks sad." Emily sighed. "It's broken." "How long you been stuck?" Marcus asked. "About an hour." Marcus looked at the road. "No heat either, huh?" Emily shook her head. Zoe's eyes widened with concern. "You're freezing." Emily smiled faintly. "I've been colder." Marcus crossed his arms thoughtfully. "Tow truck coming?" "Eventually." "How long?" "Couple hours maybe." Marcus let out a low whistle. "That's a long time in this cold." Emily tried to sound confident. "I'll manage." Zoe tugged Marcus's sleeve. "Daddy." She whispered something in his ear. Marcus listened carefully. Then he nodded. "That's actually a pretty good idea." He looked back at Emily. "Give us 5 minutes." Before she could respond, the two of them hurried through the falling snow toward a pickup truck parked down the road. Emily watched them go. She didn't know why strangers would bother helping a stranded cop on Christmas Eve. But something about them felt genuine. 5 minutes later, they returned. Marcus carried a large thermos. Zoe carried a small wrapped gift. Marcus carefully poured steaming hot cocoa into a metal cup. He handed it through the window. Emily hesitated. Then she accepted it. The warmth spread through her hands instantly. She took a sip. It was perfect. "Thank you," she said softly. Zoe proudly handed over the small gift. "For you." Emily frowned slightly. "You shouldn't." "It's okay," Zoe insisted. "It's my extra present." Emily slowly unwrapped it. Inside were thick knitted gloves. Handmade. Beautiful. Emily blinked. "Grandma made them," Zoe said proudly. Emily looked at the little girl. "You sure you want to give these away?" Zoe nodded firmly. "You're colder than me." Marcus laughed. "Can't argue with that logic." Emily slid the gloves on. They were incredibly warm. The kind of warmth that didn't just heat your hands, it warmed something deeper. Marcus leaned casually against the car. "My dad used to say something," he said. Emily looked up. "What's that?" Marcus shrugged. "Showing up matters." Emily froze. Those were almost the exact words her father used to say. For a moment, the world felt strangely quiet. Snow falling. Breath in the air. And a connection between strangers that felt oddly familiar. Then Zoe suddenly gasped. "Daddy! Look!" She pointed toward the sky. The storm clouds had begun to part. And through the opening, one bright star shined clearly in the winter sky. "The Christmas star!" Zoe whispered. Marcus smiled. "You say that every year." "Because it shows up every year." Emily laughed softly. Then she noticed headlights approaching through the snow. The tow truck. Finally. The driver stepped out and began attaching cables to the patrol car. Emily stepped outside. The cold hit her instantly, but the gloves protected her hands. She turned back to Marcus and Zoe. "I really don't know how to thank you." Marcus shook his head. "You don't have to." Zoe suddenly hugged Emily's leg. "Merry Christmas, Officer Emily." Emily blinked in surprise. Then she knelt and hugged her back. "Merry Christmas, Zoe."